Welcome back, guys. Today we are going to discuss this vitamin B3. This vitamin B3 is also called as niacin. Vitamin B3 is also called as niacin. This vitamin is derived from the amino acid tryptophan. Niacin is derived from tryptophan amino acid. Then we are going to see its active form. The active form of vitamin B3 are NADP+, that is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide combined with phosphate. So NADP stands for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate. Next active form is NAD+, that is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. So NADP plus and NAD plus are the active forms of vitamin B3 or niacin. So now we are going to see the enzymes requiring NADP plus. The NADP plus requiring enzymes are the NADPH generating reactions. The basic concepts we want to know is that NADP plus requiring enzymes are the enzymes which are involved in NADPH generating reactions. So now we are going to see which are the reactions. These are the first two enzymes of the HMP pathway. This HMP pathway is an important pathway. For now, is a very important pathway in generating NADPH. For now, remember the first two enzymes are G6PD, that is glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase. Second enzyme is in this pathway is 6 phosphogluconate 6 phosphogluconate dehydrogenase. So these two compounds, glucose 6 phosphate and 6 phosphogluconate, are the products of this HMP pathway. The enzyme dehydrogenase enzyme related to this are the first two enzymes of the HMP pathway that are involved in generating NADPH, which requires NADP+. Also we have cytoplasmic isocitrate dehydrogenase. Last one we also need to remember is the malic enzyme. So the NADP plus requiring enzymes are the glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase and 6 phosphogluconate dehydrogenase. The other two we need to remember along with them are cytoplasmic isocitrate dehydrogenase and the malic enzyme. Now we are going to see NADPH requiring enzyme. So to remember this easily, we have to remember that all reductases, all the reductase enzyme requires NADPH. This NADPH is required for reductive biosynthesis. As it is required for reductive biosynthesis, so all reductase enzymes are requiring this NADPH. Which are the enzymes we are going to see now? First example is enoyl. This is enoyl coenzyme A reductase and ketoacyl reductase. These two are the enzymes of fatty acid synthesis. Enoyl coenzyme A reductase and ketoacyl reductase. Next enzyme is HMG-CoA reductase. This is an important enzyme in cholesterol synthesis. In fact, this is the rate limiting enzyme of cholesterol synthesis, that is HMG-CoA reductase. Then we have glutathione reductase. This glutathione reductase is an important enzyme which is involved in free radical scavenging. This glutathione reductase we have also seen in the vitamin B2 lecture that the erythrocyte glutathione reductase activity is assessed for the biochemical assays of vitamin B2, that is riboflavin. Then we have folate reductase. The last one is ribonucleotide reductase. This enzyme converts the ribonucleotides or deoxyribonucleotides, that is the RNAs and DNAs. The ribonucleotide reductase is involved in the metabolism of ribonucleotides or deoxyribonucleotides. So we have seen how the two active forms are required in which enzymes and in which pathway. This is an important part because niacin is a very important coenzyme factor for most of the biochemical reactions in the body. We need to remember these important enzymes such as HMG-CoA reductase and glutathione reductase. Also the two enzymes of fatty acid synthesis. Next we are going to discuss is the all important deficiency symptoms or deficiency manifestations. The first manifestation we are going to see, which is commonly known as pellagra. In this pellagra, the early symptoms are vague. It is very minutely identifiable symptoms. The early symptoms are very vague. We generally have cutaneous manifestations. Of which the most important is photosensitive dermatitis. This need not to be confused with the photosensitivity in eyes in the deficiency manifestation of B2. This is entirely different. Photosensitive dermatitis, which is commonly seen as Castle's necklace. around the neck region. This Castle's necklace around the neck region is an clinically important finding, which suggests that person is infected with pellagra, which is due to deficiency of vitamin B3. With this pellagra is associated the 3 Ds, which is diarrhea, dementia, it is confusion or memory loss, and depressive psychosis. The 3 Ds that are associated with pellagra are diarrhea, dementia, memory loss, and depressive psychosis. In extreme cases, the 3 Ds become the 4D, that is death. So death may occur in the extreme advanced cases. So the 4 Ds are diarrhea, dementia, depressive psychosis, or you can also include this dermatitis, which is photosensitive, and in the extreme cases this causes death. We are going to see an important feature, that is pellagra like symptoms. These symptoms are like pellagra, but they are different. First one we are going to see is heart nerves disease, heart nerves disease, in which there is decreased availability of tryptophan. As you have seen above, that this vitamin B3 is derived from tryptophan. So this tryptophan's decreased availability leads to heart nerves disease. And next we are going to see under this pellagra like symptoms is carcinoid syndrome. Carcinoid syndrome. In this the tryptophan, short form is TRP, tryptophan is all going to serotonin synthesis. So this serotonin, as we know, as an important neurotransmitter, requires this amino acid tryptophan in this metabolism. So this tryptophan, instead of being available to form the niacin or vitamin B3, is all going to serotonin synthesis, leading to decreased availability of B3. So this causes the carcinoid syndrome, in which tryptophan is all going to serotonin synthesis. The third one we're going to do is B6 deficiency. This B6 is a very important hormone, pyridoxine. We are going to discuss further in upcoming lectures. And you need to remember that here in this causes B6 deficiency. Why? Because it's also involved in tryptophan metabolism. As B6 is involved in tryptophan metabolism, so decreased availability of tryptophan leads to pellagra-like symptoms, which also includes B6 deficiency. Some facts we are going to see here, that the food rich in maize, food rich in maize, this niacin is present in a bound form, that is niacin. In maize, this niacin is present in a bound form, that is niacin. So in sorghum, or as we know is as jowar, in many parts of India this sorghum or jowar is a staple diet. The sorghum or jowar has increased leucine content, This leucine inhibits the QPRTase enzyme. Increased leucine content inhibits QPRTase enzyme. This QPRTase enzyme converts niacin to NAD+. As this QPRTase enzyme converts niacin to NAD+, people consuming in excess of sorghum or jowar, which has increased leucine content, which inhibits the QPRTase enzyme, which leads to a decrease in the active form of niacin, that is NAD+, and there leads to decreased activity of the enzymes requiring NAD+, leading to the deficiency manifestations and symptoms. Now we are going to discuss an important topic, that is toxicity of B3. Generally we don't see the toxicity of B complex vitamins, but in some as such as B3 toxicity is observed. How we are going to see it? So we know that this toxicity of vitamin B3, the prostaglandins mediated cutaneous flushing. Prostaglandin mediated cutaneous flushing due to increased activation of GPCRs, that is G protein coupled receptors. The toxicity is first manifested as prostaglandin mediated cutaneous flushing. Why? Due to increased activation of G protein coupled receptors. Then the second one is the most fatal one, that is fulminant hepatitis, which leads to the liver enzymes getting affected. The most fatal condition of this with B3 toxicity is fulminant hepatitis, in which the liver enzymes are affected. The third one is we are going to see is most commonly seen as glucose intolerance. So in B3 toxicity, it also leads to glucose intolerance. So the toxicity of B3 is an important concept. To remember all these facts is an important clinically. The toxicity of vitamin is treatment of toxicity. First is pre-medication with aspirin. Why? Because the prostaglandins are also involved in the inflammation process. And as we know, aspirin helps to decrease this inflammation. So there is pre-medication with aspirin. Next treatment modalities: PGD2 inhibitors. For example, laropropriant. Excuse me, I forgot the drug name. The correct name is laropiprant. This laropiprant is a PGD2 inhibitor. It's a form of prostaglandin which is used in the treatment of toxicity of B3. This is also involved in reducing inflammation. Another fact we are going to remember here is this niacin is a lipid modifying drug. Niacin is also involved in lipid modification. It often leads to decreased levels of triacylglycerol, increased levels of high density lipoprotein, and decreased levels of low density lipoprotein. Niacin is a lipid modifying drug which leads to decreased level of triacylglycerol, increased level of HDL, and decreased level of LDL. Next we are going to see is the RDA. The RDA of B3 normal is 20 milligrams per day. As this vitamin is involved in many crucial enzymes in the biosynthesis in the body, so this requires a greater amount as comparison to other vitamins. The normal amount is 20 milligrams per day. During lactation, additional 5 milligrams is required. Normally we require 20 milligrams per day for healthy functioning. During lactation, additional 5 milligrams is required. So this consumption of niacin we calculate as Ne, that is niacin equivalents. Its niacin equivalent is calculated as 1 milligram of niacin equivalent is equal to 60 milligram of tryptophan. So I need to remember 1 milligram of niacin equivalent is equal to 60 milligram of tryptophan amino acid. As this tryptophan is an important in the formation of niacin, so this niacin equivalent is an important factor to remember this value. Last thing I forgot to say are the sources of B3. Sources of B3 are dried yeast, the rice polishing, the liver, peanut is an important source of B3, legumes and pulses, important sources of amino acids. Its legumes and pulses are important sources of amino acids. And fish are generally rich in essential amino acids, which is a tryptophan. So the sources of B3 are dried yeast, polished rice, liver, peanut, legumes and pulses, and fish. So this is all about vitamin B3 discussion. It's a pretty important vitamin, both from dietary health side as well as an important coenzyme in most of the important biochemical reactions taking place in our body. We are going to further discuss them in details in other lectures. So we have discussed this vitamin B3 is also called niacin. It's derived from amino acid tryptophan. The active forms are NADP plus and NAD plus. This NADP is required in NADPH generating reactions, which are the first two reactions of the HMP pathway. This is very important fact when we are going to discuss HMP pathway. We will be coming across this and we will know why this is important. It is glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase and 6-phosphogluconate dehydrogenase. Also there is cytoplasmic F-cyclate dehydrogenase. Remember, cytoplasmic, there are two forms, mitochondrial and cytoplasmic. The cytoplasmic form contains NADP plus and there is malic enzyme. Then we see the NADPH requiring enzymes. Very easy to remember that all the reductase enzymes. All the reductase enzyme, this NADPH requiring enzyme are required for the reductive biosynthesis. So the reductase enzymes. The reductase is the enoyl CoA reductase, keto-acyl reductase, HMG-CoA reductase. It's a rate limiting enzyme of the cholesterol synthesis. Glutathione reductase, it's a free radical scavenging enzyme. It's very important enzyme we are going to discuss in further lectures. Then there is folate reductase and ribonucleotide reductase. Then we come across the deficiency manifestation. The first one, or the major, the most probable one, is the pellagra. In this the symptoms are vague. When they occur early, the early symptoms are vague. There is cutaneous manifestation in form of photosensitive dermatitis. This is observed as the Castle's necklace around the neck region. It's a very important clinical finding. You see there is a type of necklace formed. The type of necklace type of formed around the neck region of the patient. This neck region is called Castle's necklace. This is a most important clinical finding, leading to the conclusion that it is B3 deficient. Then with pellagra, 3 Ds are associated. There is diarrhea, there is dementia or memory loss, there is depressive psychosis. The patient often undergoes depression. Also you can include dermatitis, which in extreme cases can lead to death. Then we discuss the pellagra like symptoms. So two important, heart nerve disease and carcinoid syndrome. In heart nerve disease there is decreased availability of tryptophan. In carcinoid syndrome, all the tryptophan goes to serotonin synthesis, which leads to decreased availability of B3. Serotonin is an important neurotransmitter. The third is the B6 deficiency, as tryptophan is involved in its metabolism. And the food rich in maize, in which niacin is present in the bound form, that is niacin. The person or in community which consumes a lot of sorghum, jowar, Jowar is staple diet in many parts of India. This jowar has increased leucine content, which inhibits the QPRTase enzyme. This QPRTase enzyme converts niacin to its active form NAD+. As this QPRTase enzyme is inhibited, many biochemical reactions depending on this NAD+ doesn't take place and are inhibited, leading to many deficiency manifestations and symptoms. Then there's B3's toxicity. The toxicity of B3 is related to prostaglandin mediated cutaneous flushing due to increased activation of G protein coupled receptors. And next we see the most fatal one of this toxicity is the fulminant hepatitis. As the liver is affected, the liver enzymes are also going to get affected, and many important biochemical reactions in the body going to stop. The third feature of this toxicity is glucose intolerance. For this toxicity, the treatment is pre-medication with aspirin and PGD2 inhibitors such as laroprant. Remember, this is laropiprant. Then you also know that niacin is a lipid modifying drug which leads to decreased triglycerol, increased HDL level, it is high density lipoprotein, and decreased low density lipoprotein levels. These features are generally healthy for individuals. For now, remember that this LDL, its level rises, it's dangerous. Why? It leads to arrhythmias. This LDL is dangerous as it is involved in arrhythmias, so its decreased level is considered healthy for individuals. And this increased LDL, remember, this is related to cholesterol transport. Don't worry, we are going to discuss everything in further lectures in the lipoprotein lectures. For now, remember, this HDL is related to cholesterol transport, and LDL, when it increases, causes arrhythmias. Then we come to the RDA of vitamin B3. So RDA in normal adult is 20 milligrams per day. In lactation and also in pregnancy, as we know, this additional 5 milligrams is required. For calculation of this uptake or this medication of niacin, there is a niacin equivalent, which is 1 milligram of niacin equivalent is equal to 60 milligram of tryptophan. You need to remember this fact. Then there are sources of B3 such as dried yeast. Yeast is an important source of majority of vitamin B3 forms, or in general the vitamin B complexes. And there is polished rice, liver, peanut is an important source, legumes and pulses. Why? Because they are important sources of amino acids. I hope we all know this. And then there is fish. So it's a pretty important vitamin involved in a lot of reactions. Please make sure to revise them, guys. Good luck. I will see you in the next one. Thank you.